Welcome back to the channel, everyone. The international break is over and Manchester United face Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester derby time. Now, I'm sure you remember the last time we visited the Etihad. We got the win 2-1 with Ahmad scoring the winner. And this time, it's been a while, but I'm quite confident for this particular Manchester derby. And it's been a while since I've been confident of a game, especially against Manchester City. And it's mainly because of one, their form, two, the players that they have available, and three, they don't look like that terrifying City that they have been in seasons gone by. And Pep Guardiola certainly has a few issues on his hand, but we'll talk about all of that in the preview today, of course. How are you guys doing? Let me know in the comment section how you feel with regards to this particular game. What are your thoughts? What are your predictions? Let me know. I'd like to see those particular comments and engage with you. Also, I want to say thank you for those that have subscribed to the channel. We're one away from 500 subscribers. I know there are channels out there that talk about Manchester United that are earning up to, shall I say, well, not necessarily earning. Yeah, I spoke quite wrong there. I would necessarily say they are hitting the heights and the numbers of over hundreds of thousands of subscribers up to millions of subscribers. And I guess we'll get there, with time, with patience. We will get there, as a community. But we're so close to 500 subscribers and we're one away. So let's do that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But let's get into the preview, of course. That is why you are here. Now, Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, they are, of course, fighting for the title. They are one of the contenders, and the way they started the season, especially that game against Wolves, they played quite well. They scored goals, they looked quite menacing, and then after that, their losses to Spurs and Bournemouth certainly caused a bit of concern, raised a few questions, but not in the media, just by us as rival fans. And Pep Guardiola does have his issues. He seems to be trying to find a way to improve his team, but also still try and compete. There's so many new players that they have signed with the likes of Reinders, Aït-Nouri, etc. Ryan Cherki from Olympique Lyon, who you very well remember when we played them in the Europa League last season. And these players do have quality. They do come in with a certain reputation, but they are not, the players like Kevin De Bruyne. They are not the Ilkay Gundoğans, in their prime when they were playing for City. And that's me being really honest. It is certainly still a strong City team, don't get me wrong, but they're not that menacing, they're not that terrifying. And based on how they are playing, they don't look like the team that is 100% confident throughout the game going to win it. They still hold good possession, which is expected. I mean, it is a Pep Guardiola team after all, and they do that quite well. But it is when they are trying to defend, that is where the problems lie. The likes of Rico Lewis, Kusanov haven't really, lived up to the reputations that have been put out there for them. The likes of Ruben Diaz seems like the only, world-class centre-back that they have. Akanji, we know, already left. The likes of John Stones is reaching a certain age now where his legs are going. They have new goalkeepers in Donnarumma and James Trafford. Sorry, I almost said Old Trafford. I'm so used to talking about Man United in that particular aspect. Yes, the likes of Omar Marmoush is not available, but they still have, match winners in Erling Haaland. They still have the likes of Phil Foden that can, win the game for them on his own. And he's shown that in previous games for Manchester City. But they do have issues. They're not as strong, as they have been in seasons gone by, as I said. And this is a good opportunity for us to get back-to-back wins for the first time under Ruben Amorim. And also to get another win for our own goals for this particular season, which is getting back into Europe as a minimal. I think that needs to be the minimum requirement, because that should be our requirement every particular season other than fighting for the title, etc. But for this particular game, I do think that Ruben Amorim needs to be brave. I think that he has to be a bit more mindful of the fact of how City's form is, how fragile Guardiola is in terms of mixing his team up and playing certain players out of position to try and have a certain benefit, which hasn't been working for them as of late. But we're not going to hold possession in this game. I'm sure Ruben Amorim knows that. And we do have the players to do so, but we're not going to beat City at holding the ball and putting it onto them, especially at their home stadium, Etihad Stadium. We need to be more compact. We need to be more dogged. We need to get them on the counter attack, because that is Man City and Pep Guardiola's kryptonite. You saw it when we had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You saw it under Erik ten Hag, and most notably, you saw it with Ruben Amorim at Sporting, and of course with Manchester United. The way we play against them under Ruben Amorim has been quite good in terms of how we hold our possession, how we keep things compact in midfield and in defense. And then when we get the opportunity, we are direct. We're playing a ball immediately, or if not the first or the second ball, maybe straight to the likes of Ahmad, etc. And this time you saw that against Arsenal. The likes of Mbuma was constantly getting on the ball with us counter-attacking and being mostly direct with the way we played. And of course, later on in the game, we held more of the ball because Arsenal decided to sit back, knowing how dangerous we are in terms of countering and being that direct. And for this particular game against City, we have to do the exact same thing. Be direct, play those balls over the top, because that is where City suffers most. That is their disadvantage and their weaknesses. They do not like balls straight into forwards where they have to run back to face their own goal, and when they are being counter-attacked. That is where we are going to be beating City. We need to do the same thing we did against Arsenal and play those balls to Mbeumo, because he will certainly unlock and certainly pull the Manchester City defenders, opening up spaces and pulling them wide in order for the likes of Bruno, etc., Mainu, Ahmad, for them to actually get the opportunity to be on the ball and cause some trouble. And of course, Mbeumo can do that on his own as well. We've seen his quality. Now, with regards to the team that I think Ruben Amorim should be going with, there is concerns for in terms of injuries, but we'll hear more, in his press conference with regards to Cunha and Mason Mount. There's a bit of a report saying Lisandro Martinez will be fit for the squad for this particular game, which would be a welcome boost. But again, I don't think he will be starting. So for me, this particular game, there is a few questions, especially in midfield and in the goalkeeping positions. But this is what I want and who I think Ruben Amorim should be going with. In goal, go with Sen Lemens. Onana has gone to Turkey. Bayender, has always been second choice. And yes, he is more experienced. He's got those Premier League games under his belt. But again, he's not as confident. He's not as good. Makes similar mistakes to Onana. So in a game like this, do you really want to play that type of risk? Do you really want to have a goalkeeper who's not very good at set pieces and corners, knowing how good City can be from that? So I would go with Sen Lemens. Let's see what he's about. Put him in. Yes, it is a baptism of fire, against a team like Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. But you're playing for Manchester United. We saw the potential in you, and you still have to grow and develop more. But let's see what you have. It's a free hit game, in my opinion. If he makes mistakes, it's his first game. It's, him not really training long with the team. He only started training with the team Monday past, so it'll just be a week's training he's had with his teammates, maybe even less, considering some of them were still with their teams with the international break. But give Sen Lemens that start. Let's see what he's about, and let's see exactly what he can bring to the table as a goalkeeper, and of course to Manchester United's defense as a whole. The back three, Lenny Yoro, Matthias de Ligt, Luke Shaw, have been solid, have been consistent, and I think that would be the starting back three. Right wing back, I would go with Mazraoui, simply because I do not want us to be entirely attacking. Mazraoui is quite good in the defensive mindset in terms of holding his position and of course trying to cover his centre backs. He's not as well going forward from right wing back, but again will give us a bit more defensive solidity on that right hand side with Lenny Yoro, who I think will of course be the right centre back. Left wing back Patrick Dogo, I don't think there's any arguments or debates about that. In my midfield, I would go with Mainu and Ugarte. Now, simply because Ugarte gives us that extra defensive player that will be in midfield. As I said, Mazraoui is more defensive minded, so he's on that side. And having the back three with the two of them, and of course Dogo when we are in a defensive mode, but he'll be much more attacking than Mazraoui, obviously, to give us that width on the left-hand side. I do think having those five players constantly worried about defending only, especially when we will be counter-attacked, I do think that is quite good enough in order for us to defend well and have a base to play from when we are looking to counter-attack. Now, the front three, as you already see for me, is Bruno Fernandes, Mbumo, and Benjamin Sesko. I don't think Mateus Cunha will be fit to start. He'll be probably fit enough to be part of the squad, but again, an asset to have to come on from the bench. Likewise with Ahmad, likewise with Mason Mount. There is players that can change the game for us in the second half, whether we are chasing a goal, whether we want to score more goals, or whether we want to just completely go at them if we are already in the ascendancy. But there will be options for Ruben Amorim, but this is the team I think he should go with. And yes, of course, I know in the midfield you'd most likely want to go with Bruno and Casemiro, and maybe you'd go with Ugarte and Casemiro to be more defensive. But for me, Mainu allows us to have a bit more possession, more control on the ball, especially in that midfield, and can be a link between the defense to the attack with being that ball-playing midfielder that can beat his man, and of course, move forward, basically dribble with the ball. So that is what I think Ruben Amorim should be doing for this particular game against Manchester City. It's going to be a tough game, but I'm excited for it because, as I said, Manchester City are not as good as they have been in seasons gone by. It is still early stages of the season, and maybe they're still getting to full match fitness and full rhythm, etc. But we can win them. It's not impossible. We have the players, we have the tactics. Ruben Amorim has showed before that he can beat Manchester City. He has done it with Manchester United. So let's go and get that back-to-back wins. But you let me know in the comment section what your predictions are, what you of course think of the game, and let me know how you feel ahead of the first Manchester derby for the season. Have a wonderful day further. Enjoy the game, enjoy the weekend. Till we see each other again soon in the next one, Red Devils. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. If you want more content on Manchester United, like, share and subscribe.